Well, we are just hopefully a couple of weeks away from NFL ownership voting to secure the Harris Group as the new owners for the Washington Commanders. I know that we keep hearing things about Stephen A. up in Canada, saying that, whoa, hold on a second. We are still not done with our bids, but I believe, honestly, at this point, I think you're going to see the Harris Group getting pushed through. They have already been pretty much vetted. At this point, it really just comes down to just a few little discrepancies, I think. And I'm probably not really saying that correctly, but just a few things that need to be cleared up. Other than that, that's pretty much who your ownership's going to be. That being said, now the talk really starts to turn toward no, not a name change. The stadium. The stadium should be the next order of business for the Washington Commanders. And right now it looks like suddenly, guess what is back in play for the Washington Commanders? Yes, absolutely. The RFK Stadium site. And I felt like this all along. I felt the only reason why that this stadium site was never going to be available for the Washington Commanders was because of Daniel Snyder. And I think that was pretty much obvious for any reason. And then when you start to see the other sites backing away and saying, yeah, we're not going to deal with Dan Snyder, I'm sorry. Suddenly, Snyder couldn't get a stadium deal. And I think that was probably the biggest reason for Dan Snyder saying, yeah, we might as well just consider selling the team, because if we can't get a stadium deal, we're sunk. And so now that new ownership is coming into the fold, suddenly RFK Stadium site is back on the back on the table. And while a lot of people are going to, certainly, I guess, politic for the reasons for having the stadium closer to them, whether if it's in Virginia, Maryland, wherever the case may be, I feel like, as tradition would be, it should belong in D.C. This is a Washington, D.C. team, right? And I think it belongs back in D.C. And I think it belongs at the RFK site, me personally. And yeah, I never grew up in that area. I did grow up in Virginia, but I grew up in Southern Virginia. So I was always at least 4 or 5 hours away from Washington, D.C. anyway. So, that wasn't exactly, hometown for me. But despite, I still believe that it is ultimately best for the team to return in the heart of DC. And so I'm hoping that this would be my number one choice. And I think, folks, you're going to see exactly how easy it's going to be for the Washington Commanders' new owner to be able to make this deal go through. Now, I'm not saying that there's not going to be hurdles or there's not going to be debates and political red tape, but I'm just saying that suddenly things are going to be a lot easier than what they were going to be with Dan Snyder. One thing that's definitely you can cross off the list was the name change. Before, that was the biggest thing that was said in the beginning, was the fact that they would never allow the teams to move back to DC while they were named the Washington Redskins. And okay, so now that they're not named the Washington Redskins, named the Washington Commanders, you can mark that hurdle off the list. And suddenly, I think, we all really realized it may not have necessarily been the name. I think that was probably used more as a, political crutch. And you can go and argue the whole name thing. And, this is not about that. This video is not about that. What I think that really came down to all along, and I think we can all agree on this, is the fact that Dan Snyder was a hated owner. He was hated in DC. I don't think he was very well liked in the NFL either. And so I think because of that, because of his relationships, I think that people were not willing to really honestly make any sort of deals with him. And so that was the reason why you were never going to see the Washington football franchise moving back to DC. Now that he is out of the picture and, you know, unofficially, at least officially at some point, the Harris Group will come in, and seems to be a better ownership group to work with, and is already starting to show the fruits of their labor with, you know, some other sports franchises that they have been able to turn around. We're seeing now that, the doors are opening. People are going to be willing to do business with this group. And I feel like that ultimately this team does move back to DC. Now, what would be my second option? Well, certainly it would probably be somewhere in Virginia. Yeah, I'm biased because I come from Virginia. I'm now in North Carolina. So if it makes it anywhere closer for me to go see a game, then I'm all for that. But, you know, ultimately I feel like it's better served in DC. You know, if I'm able to maybe get put up in a hotel in Northern Virginia and, you know, catch the metro to go to a game, ultimately that would be the sweetest thing, right? You know, so we'll see. But ultimately, I think this is what's going to happen. I think the RFK site is going to be where Washington moves back to, gets back to their winning ways, and maybe we can say that the last 20 plus years were all a bad dream. Folks, let me know in the comments section what you think. I think it's going to happen. Let's get back to RFK. Obviously you can't go back to the old structure, the old actual building. You'll have to tear that down and build it back up to specs. But yeah, let's get back to the old RFK. All right, folks, you take care. Please subscribe and hit that notification bell. You don't want to miss any notifications on video releases because I release them at different times of the day. So please make sure you are subscribed and notified. All right, folks, take care. I'll see you in the next one.
Hey, you stayed until the very end. Thank you so much. Watch another one right now.